Morning, third grade. It's Mrs. Roth with your reading lesson for Monday, April 6th. This week we're going to be looking at comparing and contrasting stories. And so as we get ready to do that, I just want to review the different story elements so that when we do compare two stories, we know what we are comparing. So let's go ahead and get started. Follow along with me, please. So the first part of a story is its characters. So this is who the story is about. We know that characters can either be animals or people in a story. There will be talking animals in some of the stories we look at this week, and so those would be considered characters. The next part of a story is the setting, when and where the story takes place. As much as possible, we want to find both of those pieces of the setting, when and where, when we can. So an example might be that it takes place at night in the forest. Then we have the plot. The plot is just a fancy word for what happened in the story. You guys have been practicing this year already with finding the beginning, the middle, the end, the problem, and the solution of a story. So as we go through and look at the plots of stories, we just need to think about what is happening in the story. Then we have the theme. We haven't talked as much about this one this year. We've talked a lot about the moral of a story when we looked at fables and folk tales. So the theme of a story is the big idea of the story that is seen in the characters, setting, and the plot. Another word that we could use for this is the moral of the story, or the message or the lesson in a story. Unlike a moral, a theme is usually only about 1 to 2 words, or it's just a short phrase, and it has to be inferred. So think back to when we were doing fables and folk tales, and think about the example of the tortoise and the hare. In order to find the lesson that the author wants us to learn, we can sometimes just look straight in the story, right? At the end of that story, it would say, slow and steady wins the race. So we can pull that right out from the story, and we know what the author is trying to teach us or what lesson we can learn from that story. But when we're trying to find the theme, we're going to have to use the information from the story and then process it in our brains to be able to understand what the author is trying to teach us. So there might be a story about someone who lied and got in trouble for it, right? And this author wants us to learn to be honest. So it's something that we can apply to our own lives. So let's do a few examples of this. So there are a few different kinds of themes on the left there: jealousy, honesty, courage, and friendship. So we're going to do a few stories here. They're just very short. Paul found $4 laying on the floor at Walmart. Although he wanted it to buy a new Hot Wheels car, he turned it in. So we need to think, what is the theme and how do we know? So the theme here would be honesty, because Paul found something that wasn't his and turned it in, right? He did the right thing by turning it in. So honesty would be our theme. For the second one, it says tryouts for the baseball team were today. Jeff was the youngest kid trying out. He was terrified of messing up, but still did his best. So if he was really scared, but he still did his best, that shows us that he had courage. So courage is the theme of that short story. Let's do a couple more examples. When Jeff saw his friend's new baseball bat, he immediately felt like his wasn't good enough. So he didn't think his was good enough. He thought his friend's was better. So it would be an example of jealousy. Good. And the last one. Heather saw Jenny playing by herself at recess. She immediately ran over to Jenny and invited Jenny to play with her own friends. We can see that Jenny was showing friendship. Good. Because she was inviting someone to come play with her and her friends. Good. So now that we have reviewed the different parts of a story and focused a little more on theme, We're going to go over to Classkick. I will show you the worksheet, and then you can go ahead and do it on your own. But when you go onto Classkick, you'll go to Reading Monday 4/6. That is today's assignment. And the worksheet here is called Determine the Theme. It says to write the theme that most closely matches the character's actions in the text. So you will read the first one, you'll read the story, and then you'll look up in that box there. There's 4 different themes to choose from. Each one is used 1 time. So you will type in the theme box which word you think, or words, lines up with the theme, and then give some evidence on how you know that. What part of the story told you that? Please use the typing tool when you do this so that we can read your answers clearly. Once you complete this worksheet, then you can go ahead and work on IXL B1. You will be finding the theme of different stories. And then that will be all your reading assignments for today. Thank you for coming, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday. See ya!